So what's your vote?
So,
Snape.
I think I'm gonna get outvoted. So anyway, so.
Snape?
Yeah.
Sorry. Nearly headless snake. I had no.
One, two, three, and four. Count what you have now. Don't count what you don't have.
You good, Mom?
Alright, explain where we're at.
We're on the final bracket before we start narrowing it down.
Top 8?
Today we've got Albus Dumbledore versus Peter Pettigrew, which is a terrible matchup, to be quite honest.
Dumbledore and Peter?
Good old Petey boy.
Why is it a terrible matchup?
I just feel like he's probably not gonna do well.
I'll do this. If Peter Pettigrew didn't do what he did, the story wouldn't move forward.
Right?
Oh man!
Who even picked Peter Pettigrew? That was mine, I think.
We didn't pick this.
What idiot would put him on the
Oh,
board?
I'm trying to remember who picked him. I'm pretty sure I put Peter on the board.
I
Not
did
much.
read an interesting fan theory the other day about Peter Pettigrew. They were trying to decide why Peter Pettigrew ever would have been the secret keeper for the Potters.
Yes.
And I read, they were like, what if he put Sirius under the Imperious curse, thus telling Sirius to tell James and Lily to make him the secret keeper instead? Because it is mentioned that Sirius recommended or mentioned or somehow convinced them to have Peter do it and not him, because it would make way more sense because Sirius and James were best friends. They grew up together and all that. So I think that if that has any credence, that puts Peter up a little bit.
Yeah.
If he was a good enough wizard to Imperious one of his closest friends. But I don't know if he could do that magically.
I will have to say, that whole thing never rang true with me. Because, Sirius is not a coward, so it's not like he's trying to shirk from,
The responsibility, yeah.
Voldemort would get him and torture him. And so that's probably one of the weakest links of the entire series, is the fact that Peter Pettigrew was the secret
Well, even
keeper.
just the fact of there's 5 of them. There's James, Lily, Sirius, Remus, and Peter. So James and Lily, for own reasons, couldn't be secret keeper. So why not Remus and why not Sirius?
Right.
Because Remus never even gets a glancing mention.
Well,
For
could it have been that they are more on the front lines, they're more doing things, whereas Peter Pettigrew may have flown more under the radar of...
Because that is true too.
stuff.
Of if Sirius was secret keeper and he died, everyone that he told would become secret keeper. Kind of like how Grimmauld Palace became.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yep.
Okay, that makes some more sense. Whereas Peter would have stayed out of the action.
Because
But it
he
still
is
seems
a coward.
He
a
is
little
a
bit
coward.
more. I don't know. It still seems a little bit odd to
Yeah.
me.
Coward, maybe, but on the other side of it, he was very faithful to Voldemort, though. Like,
Not because
He
of
was
love
there.
or trust, but because of
but
fear.
he was.
And because he
Because he was
did
afraid.
more powerful.
And he stayed with them.
He had no choice.
Well,
After a
He always
certain
had
point,
It
a
was
choice.
almost this kind of sort of Stockholm syndrome, one
always
might
had a
argue.
choice.
Yeah.
But
I guess you always have a choice.
My
But
question is, because I always thought I understood, the whole, Silver Hand killing him in Malfoy's basement.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the hand having a mind of its own, or was that Peter Pettigrew being sorry for what he did, and then the hand was fighting against him? So it's like, I have to kill, because it was Voldemort that created the hand,
Right.
and so was it that spell was, oh, this is good, and now whatever I'm attached to is good, now I have to kill it.
no, I think it was the disloyalty.
Mm-hmm.
It was that split second that Peter had, that he had a moment of weakness of entertaining the idea that I'll be disloyal to Voldemort and I should be kind to Harry because of what he's done for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that split second of disloyalty that killed him.
Yeah.
That is my understanding.
So the hand just had basically a back
Well, I mean,
Voldemort
it's a cursed hand. Voldemort probably, with the condition of you're loyal, here's a hand.
right, and so it's kind of like with when you say his name, it basically pings all his chasers or whatever, and they know where you're at, essentially, right? And he might have done something
Essentially.
like that to the hand as well.
But I mean, there could be an argument for the way it's loosely worded for he knew what he did wrong and he knew he had to atone, and no one could defeat a magical hand. So I think you can make an argument either way for it, with it making sense and not taking away or adding anything to the story.
I mean, Peter is definitely an interesting character that they brought into it. He's, you cannot deny.
You never quite know where he falls. You can't deny the fact that he is instrumental in moving the story along. He's definitely a very important minor character. You can't gloss that over. But with that being said, you put him up against Albus Dumbledore.
What do you put him? He got randomly selected.
When he is put up against
Randomly, Rachel
When
pointed
he's
out ahead.
randomly
Yep, he got randomly drawn out of a hat to be
with
number
Albus
3.
Dumbledore.
Yeah,
It
comparing
kind
the
of-
merits of those two characters,
Yes.
he falls shy.
He falls very shy.
Yeah.
Why?
But I mean, Albus wasn't.
Just because it's Albus Dumbledore?
the greatest wizard of his time, arguably of all time,
But also
named by multiple people.
Also kind of a crappy person to a bunch of children.
Was he though?
He's like,
No, just
you know
Harry.
what, I'm gonna let Harry do a bunch of stuff and
Just
not really
Harry.
tell him what's going on.
Not other people, just Harry.
But he put all the
He
other
didn't care
children
less
in
about the other
danger
people.
because he trusted Harry with so much
But also,
on
who
the
else
back of a child.
could have done it?
He could have had other people help guide Harry, but he's just like,
No,
Harry
because
will
Harry
figure it out.
Harry had to be.
It
Harry
had
had
to
to
be
be
Harry.
prepared. He had to walk the road that he did to become the person that he did in order for him
Well,
to be
and
able
if
to do
you
what he did.
even look at any time an adult stepped in to try to do it for Harry or help Harry, Harry just ran around and did it anyway.
Yeah, because he was basically told by Dumbledore, you have to do it on your own because you're the only one who can do anything. And yeah, maybe he's the only one who could do it in the end, but I'm sure there was 1,000 other ways he could have gone about helping him grow into the person he needed to be.
I think the
He could've
Horcrux hunt
loved
was
him a little
excessive. I think anybody could have found the Horcruxes, but I think Dumbledore saw as a fact of this will grow Harry as a man. Therefore, I'm just gonna.
Well,
only
and
tell
also
him
to
what
understand the
else,
severity of what was even happening.
and to not let
It has to
Voldemort
be
know.
this way, and you have to do it, and the stakes are high.
Yeah.
Well, and let's also be fair. Dumbledore was not an infallible human being.
No.
He knew that, and he'd never been a parent. He did a terrible job with his siblings, and he didn't really have strong parents. You know, his parents died when he was pretty young. I mean, he was older, but it's still formative years of trying to figure out who he was. So this is kind of his first chance at being a parent. So he kind of bobbled it. Do you know what I mean? I think in some ways, you don't know. I mean, this had never happened before. How do you know what the right way is to do it? Should I just step in and do it for him? Should I just, should I protect him all the way through, and then. And you gotta remember, the whole of wizardom plus humanity, plus the muggle world, is at stake. If Harry can't complete this task, we're all doomed. That's a lot.
It's a lot. That's a lot.
Now, personally, I don't like Albus Dumbledore.
Okay.
That's just my opinion of him, and there isn't enough story to him, really, in Harry Potter's. Harry doesn't understand anything about him, and everything that he does know gets shattered in the 7th book because of all the other things that he's done before, and I just have never liked Dumbledore after that point, because it's like, you know all of these things, and you decided not to tell anybody, and you trusted a child, which arguably worked out in your favor, but as Amber Forth has said, you do that a lot, and it doesn't work out, and you never learned from the beginning. You just got lucky the last time. And so his death was less impactful after that point, so it's like, he just guessed and gambled, and he could have done so much more, and maybe he has done a lot more for the wizarding world, and you don't get to see it, but you just hear he's such a great person, but you never actually see the good things that he's done. You only ever see Harry's side of like, this guy never told me anything and trusted me with everything, but then didn't actually help me do any of it. He just threw stuff at me. So I don't think Dumbledore's the best Harry Potter character on this board, but he beats Peter Pettigrew.
I was with you till
Best thing for McDonald's. McRibs. The fries.
Betrayal.
But to be fair, here's the other thought process is that Dumbledore is a teacher. He's a teacher first. And any good teacher will know that they have to tailor the learning to the student. that you can't just teach blanket and expect everybody. And so I wonder if does Albus know something that we don't, which is he knew how Harry was going to be able to learn. You know, if I had just gave him the information, or if I had just spoon-fed it to him, he wouldn't have learned it. He wouldn't have been curious enough to go the distance. But when you keep holding back and there's mystery, he will keep pursuing it.
Yeah.
I mean, are we ready for a vote on this one?
What's your vote?
I think so.
My vote's Dumbledore.
Albus.
I'm voting Peter Pettigrew.
I don't have a solid argument against that, though.
Well, I do, but
I do it.
Now's the time!
yeah, my heart hearts. I don't think he's gonna win, but
Well,
I mean, he doesn't have a chance if he doesn't.
he might have a chance in the next round, though.
no, come on.
Against Cormac McLaggen or Phineas Nigella's Black, yeah, he might. If he can beat Dumbledore, he might have a chance.
I mean, it is a good matchup with Peter and Albus because they both did things that led Harry down past it. He didn't know where he was going or what he was doing, but they were still able to gain his trust to get him to do something else over and over and over again. Peter did the same thing. He was always back in there some way, somehow.
He did remain relevant for
Dude,
longer than
he
some
did.
characters on the board. I will give you that one.
I mean, he was Ron Weasley's pet for like 13 years, so
Which
I think he was just
is
a
long
Weasley
time.
pet.
it was a long time to live as a rat. You're right, but what are you voting?
Alice.
Sadly under his breath with
Yeah.
shame.
The one time he votes against you.
Really, it's the one time I voted against him. I mean, just on merit alone, I like Albus more than Peter, even though I don't agree with a lot of what Albus did. I agree less with what Peter did.
Up next, we have my least favorite matchup on the board.
My two
Phineas
favorite
Willis
characters.
Black and
Alright, you start.
Cormac
Guarantees.
McLaggen.
So Quentin brought
Both of them.
Both of them?
Yeah.
So guarantee one moves on. Worked out in my favor.
Who even?
Who are these people?
Well,
Quentin?
Phineas Nigella's Black is a part of the family line of the Blacks.
Right.
Put that together. I think he's the great, either 3-time or 2-time great grandfather to Sirius
Back.
Black and Romulus Black. And
World
he
champ.
was a teacher. I don't remember what he taught at Hogwarts, and then he became a
Taught
headmaster.
Transfiguration, but don't quote me on that.
And then he became a headmaster against his will, mind you. He's like, I hate children. I don't want to be the headmaster.
He did.
But he was still named headmaster, and he didn't do terrible. And then he was forever immortalized as a painting in the headmaster's office and also in Grimmauld Place.
Let's see.
So
Warren.
he is the go-between for Sirius and Dumbledore and the Order in general.
He's a second great grandfather
Second
to
great.
Sirius.
Great.
I've got a panorama of all the pure-blooded lines.
And
That's so easy.
he was on the side of the not banished Blacks.
He was. He was on the good side.
He was on the good side of the Blacks, but still helped Dumbledore. I mean, he was headmaster, but he still helped Dumbledore and Harry, even though he was considered good by the Black line, which
I mean,
is
how did he
obviously
help Harry?
against Harry.
Yeah.
He helped Harry because they had the whole conversation with him whenever they took him in the bag when they were traveling for the Horcruxes.
Okay.
Yeah, they
He
stole
were
him
able
from
to
the
go back
headmaster's
to
office.
Hogwarts, and I think they overheard conversations with Snape.
Well, and yeah, they made him go back and forth and deliver messages, and he also could go to St. Mungo's
Yeah.
because he had a portrait there as well, which is how they communicated with Neville at one point, I
I
believe.
think so.
But yeah, he was pretty, pretty
instrumental,
helpful
even though he was
for that.
annoying them the entire time and didn't
want
up
to
front help them,
Yeah.
and they thought he wasn't helping. He was still sending information to Snape, and Snape was able to pull the sword of Gryffindor hijinks that happened.
Yeah.
And then Ron came back through that. So that's who Phineas Nigella's as a general plot line. That's what his character. That's all he does.
Yeah.
He does
As a
other
painting
things.
is his biggest accomplishments.
He probably taught Dumbledore in Transfiguration, if that means anything.
He probably did.
Probably not much.
Again, Dumbledore was one of the best Transfiguration students of all time. So I've heard.
So I've heard. Don't know.
So he taught the greatest wizard of all time. If that gives him anything.
I thought it was. Is he he's the greatest or one of the
The
greatest?
greatest by far and currently the best wizard.
Mm-hmm.
But of all time is iffy.
All right, and Cormac McLaggen is who?
Cormac McLaggen goes up against Ronald Weasley for keeper in the 6th year or 7th year? Or the
Sixth.
6th year, 5th year, 6th year.
5th or 6th,
Of
yeah.
the Quidditch team when Harry is captain,
Gryffindor.
and he's super good, and then Hermione cheats. And so we see the downfall of the Golden Trio at that point. Because they're willing to cheat for their best friend to be in a sport, which is pretty unsportsmanlike if they have
And then
anything to
they
say.
double cheat again because they trick him into thinking
And
that he
think
got
he drank
lucky.
the potion, yes. So
But they didn't cheat because they didn't actually. They
But
just
they
gave
definitely
him
were
the
like,
But
"Whoa,
Ron thought
oh, just kidding." Like, that's pretty deceitful.
And then also,
But they didn't really
McCormick
cheat. They just gave him
was
inspiration.
the main guy to be like, this whole Dumbledore Army thing is stupid. Like, you're all dumb for doing this, secretive. And I mean, I'm in, of course. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to snitch. But you
But
should
it's
think
dumb.
this is a pretty dumb thing to be doing.
Yes.
And you probably shouldn't because Dolores is going to catch you and it's going to be a big bad time.
And then
So
Fred
he was
told
the
him to
voice
shut
of
his
reason,
table.
and then Fred and George threatened him with death or whatever they threatened.
With
I don't-
death.
I think
They
they
were
were
gonna
Fred
feed
to
him
like
with-
stretch his earlobes or
Yeah,
something.
they were gonna
crazy.
torture him basically. And he was still down to be their friend after that point anyways. So he's just a solid stand-up dude from,
Oh,
I think he's from Hufflepuff.
he's a Gryffindor. He was trying out for the Gryffindor
Oh, yeah.
Quidditch team, bro.
That was Ernie I was thinking of. So yeah,
Ernie's a lot.
I think
of fun.
Cormac was also dating Ginny at one point.
Probably.
I'm sure that happened
He's
in like
from
the third or
Gryffindor,
fourth
so
year.
probably.
It was pretty early on. But
Anyway,
He's handy.
that was all he did. So a lot less than Phineas and Dylan.
That's
But
what Hermione said.
That's right.
you know, I think he went to the Yule Ball with one of the twins, Parville twin. So they both got Harry.
one of them went with
Ron.
They both
One
those
went
two
with
were
Ron and
twins.
one went with Harry. Yeah.
Was
No.
he the one that went with Ginny to the ball?
Because Harry wanted to go with Cho Chang, but
Yeah.
then he couldn't. And then the
They went
twins
and did
went
the
with
twins.
Ron and
Yeah,
Hermione.
Because he's like, we're gonna go get him, and then
Right.
And then they went, and then they were mad, and they didn't dance.
But I think
at all.
Cormac was there with somebody. I don't remember if it was
Probably,
with Ginny
they
at
all
that point, but they
Everybody has
mentioned him.
to attend.
Which is why I was interested in this character, because he gets mentioned multiple times, but he never does anything. So that leads me to think that he does some other
He
cool
is
stuff.
out for the keeper spot.
Yeah, he's just not in with
Gets-
Harry's crew, so he doesn't get front stage.
He's an accessory Gryffindor character in the same
Oh,
year.
but he played later.
But he's not the same year. He's got to be. Is he older?
I think he's a year younger than Harry. I think he's in the grade under.
Because he played when Harry got kicked out.
So now left school.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Ginny complained about him being because he
Playing.
wouldn't shut
So
up.
he had to
was
be
too busy
younger.
telling
He had to be
everybody.
the same year as Ginny.
Yeah.
A year younger than the boys.
Younger.
And they lost, or did they win one without Harry? I don't remember if they won or not without Harry. And,
I think she got the snitch, but I don't think they won the game.
Yeah.
but yeah, that's who Clyde was.
All right.
Jeez.
So they keep mentioning his name, so I thought he was an interesting enough character. Of all of these characters, I think he does the least. Like even less than Moaning Myrtle
I
and the Creature.
think. At least
Like,
Moaning Myrtle and the
especially
creature have like good
structure.
plot elements and
He doesn't
like
do
plot
anything.
information.
But he is one of the few people that at least questions Harry instead of just saying,
But
yeah, okay, Harry, we'll listen.
It gives them the opportunity to use the truth serum that
No,
ties back
it's not
into,
truth. It's lucky.
or the lucky
The
serum that
Felix,
ties back into
Luscious, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
that he got from
Lucius, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
what's his name? The teacher.
Slughorn?
Slughorn, yeah.
They fake use it, yeah.
Tied it all together.
So with that information, who's better?
Where else do they use it at? I mean,
I mean, when he
That makes
actually
sense.
drank it, that would be when he
I
used
think it
it.
was more about moving Ron's arc there along a little bit, and him learning that you, and then
You
it created
can
the
just be
fight
better.
actually between him and Hermione of you didn't think I could actually do it,
Which she did.
but she wanted him to be able to.
Yeah, she wanted him to have a chance.
She's just a realist.
She is. She's a realist.
Of the three, someone.
so does anybody else have anything to say about either one?
I mean,
of
that's
these
all
characters?
that there is to be said.
I am not a fan of Cormac. Haven't been at all, and throughout the books at all. I just he's just not.
Did he even make it in the movies?
Yeah, in the keeper
Yeah.
scene.
He was in the keeper scene, but I don't think he was in the
Did they
Hogshead.
name him in the movies?
But
I
He was
don't
in
think
one
so.
scene. No, he was in one scene.
He definitely made it in that scene.
But probably in the Yule Ball scene too, somewhere.
he was arrogant, and he just I don't know, and I there wasn't much.
I mean,
You know,
was he
Phineas-
arrogant or was he just knowledgeable of his own abilities that I am a good keeper, I just am angry and upset because somehow I'm not able to save any of these.
Look, he's
No,
top
he
10 best
He only missed
Gryffindor.
one.
Yeah.
He only missed one.
Yeah.
He
The last
saved all of them except for one, and she was
That's why she hexed him, is because she was scared he was going to sweep it.
Right.
And Ron wouldn't have a chance.
And then Ron saved all of them.
Mhm.
And then Harry could say he won fair and square because he saved all of them.
But I mean, he wasn't that he was bad or arrogant. It was just he knew what he was good
Oh,
at.
it was all the other stuff that he was arrogant. It's one thing to be confident in your abilities, and it's one thing but it's something else to be arrogant like he was, which is he has to loudly proclaim it to everyone so that they can also agree with him.
Well, when you're against Harry Potter and Hermione Granger and Ginny Weasley in your group, you gotta really stand out. So I can't fault him too much for it, because I mean, and also Fred and George. Again, those two guys, you gotta deal with that your entire time at Hogwarts.
Lee Jordan,
Yeah, there's a lot of people in there that you gotta deal with.
Dean Thomas,
That it makes sense why he's the way that
Draco
he is.
Malfoy. There's a lot of people in this year that these guys go.
He's kind of like Adam and Rob in Survivor right now.
Yes. And for all those watching Survivor, comment how
Yeah,
sad
he
you are
can
at the
get some
bottom.
points.
6 months
He
from
can get some
now.
points for that. That's for
But
sure.
yeah, of the two, I think I like Black better as well. I mean,
Black is actually more
He-
useful.
they both get probably about the same word count in the story, but I feel like Black's character definitely develops the story more and is more of a solid reason to be there and not
Right,
just,
that's-
we had another
that's-
Gryffindor who did some stuff.
He also had more turning points in his character, you know.
He
That,
wasn't such one note,
yeah, and whereas Cormac was pretty much the same.
That was his job.
Yeah,
just to be
the whole
one
time, just to
thing.
be obstinate against Harry in
Yeah.
a lot of ways. But yeah, so yeah, Black was more. He was helpful, and he actually, you know, obviously he was intelligent. He was a professor. He was a headmaster.
He was from a pure-blooded wizard family, arguably one of the great ones, so
And Cormac could have been too. I mean,
yeah,
I think
we
he
don't
came
know
I
that.
don't
from.
know anything about
I think
him,
it
really.
said something about he had a ministry family. You know what I mean? He had family in the ministry, so
Who knows?
Jack, will you
So you're
stop?
voting for Black too?
Black for
Two
me.
for Black.
Will you vote? These are,
Doesn't matter. Cormac, though.
I was like Cormac all the way just to get him a vote. Go Gryffindor.
Gryffindor.
All you're gonna do is be for whoever
Yeah.
the underdog is.
At this point, everybody's a solid contender, so it doesn't matter who he votes for. Everybody be like, all right, that makes sense. So he could still vote for the lesser person if he would be okay with it.
All right,
Jack,
back to the top.
Back to the top.
Who's up next?
Creature versus Luna Lovegood.
We had so many good things about Creature, does it still stand up?
We also have a lot of good things about Luna, though.
Does it still stand up?
Well, Luna's top things are the fact that she. One of the things I like most about her is that she's a very true to herself character. That she doesn't try to be somebody that she's not, and she's unbelievably kind. I don't know that she ever did anything that was unkind in the book.
Ever.
Yeah, like, and she wasn't even rude.
Mhm.
Like, she would state things, but she didn't ever. She really wasn't rude to other people. She allowed them to have their opinions, and it was just interesting how everybody always had to come at her for her opinions and how she's wrong when she was just more or less, well, this is who I am. But she was unbelievably kind. She was a huge part of Dumbledore's army, of staying true to Harry and Ron and Hermione and
So she almost took the Ron role of the Silver Trio, of
Yeah.
the best friend, supporter, have your back no matter what, loyal character.
Yeah, and then Creature was just he's fiercely loyal, but kind of a dirtbag, but definitely,
He had to earn his loyalty.
yeah, you
Yeah.
earned his loyalty, but once you had it, and once he realized that Harry was, you know, he's master of Grimmauld Place now, but also Harry is also trying to do what he can to help everybody, and Creature's like, okay.
well, and with Creature it was more of that once Harry made the connection with Regulus, and then that's when Creature's like, oh, we're trying to protect what my master wanted me to
Right.
protect. Okay, now I'm in. You know it.
Yeah.
And he softened in that.
Mhm.
But definitely an interesting character.
For sure.
As far as overarching story goes, between the two of them though, which had a greater impact on the main plot?
Just to remind you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that wasn't my
I'm
pick.
aware.
I picked him.
Correct.
at this point, like almost a month ago when we picked these characters. And I forgot all my
That's
great
no
fantastic
excuse.
reasons why I picked Creature.
So,
Well, I think
looking back at
Creature
it now,
Creature won
No.
against Hagrid.
Creature,
choice.
well, no, okay, Winky was the one that, yeah, okay. I was trying to represent all house elves.
you were, yes.
I mean, it's
All-
all Winky, but
Still holds true for Creature, is that what you're trying to say? That
Still holds true.
he's still holding the
he's still
torch.
holding the torch for the house elves.
Okay.
No, it was his character, and in a lot of ways, it didn't matter what Harry did to Luna. She was going to be his friend. She had decided that Creature's and Harry's relationship along the way, and he had to earn that, like you said, to earn Creature's trust. But, and he was also pivotal in the story there, and that whole book, being at the house. He was the gatekeeper there, so to speak, and get people in and out. But how he stacks up against Luna as far as the story overall goes, it's a tough one.
He is in a silver trio.
He's not in the silver, but he's in like would that be like the bronze
The
trio, the house
triad
elves,
of
or what?
house
Like
elves. If
Harry's
anything-
house elves.
Creature, Winky, and
Well, you would think about it that way. They're just Harry's house elves.
yeah, they're all Harry's house.
I mean, Winky doesn't want to be, but
I mean, I think there's a clear winner here.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Creature, and I would prefer to have him continue on. But by merit of all the things that I've been saying, Luna just wins that.
Luna wins.
I think so.
I mean, that's where my vote's going.
That's 3.
Luna.
Creature only stretches so far, but Luna continues.
Luna
to go.
is.
We should make
is
Luna and Neville go
all the
against
books.
each other.
She
She's
does
more
make
than
it.
just Harry, whereas Creature is kind of like it begins and ends with Harry's character. Harry meets him, and then he's at a certain point he's no longer useful. Whereas Luna is, I'm my own person and I do my own thing, and Harry just so happens to be my friend. It's not like, oh, I'm best friends with Harry Potter, I'm going to tell everybody. She'll just offhandedly say, oh yeah, me and Harry Potter went to school together and we did these things. But that doesn't make her an identity of being Harry Potter's best friend.
Right.
So that's why she moves on for Creature.
So up next we have Neville Longbottom versus Remus Lupin, which is a really good matchup in my opinion. Like, it's gonna be a hard one to pick.
It makes my heart hurt right now.
Your heart hurt.
And to be fair, we haven't fleshed out Neville Longbottom yet.
Well,
We haven't talked
Yeah,
about
because
anything he's done.
Yeah, I think it was. Alright, who put Neville up there? Was it you? And I think Rachel was like, I have lots of things to support Neville, but it's against Winky, so I don't have to say that much.
Yeah.
Somebody said that the other day.
Well, you better bring him out now because he's up against Remus Lupin.
Yes.
it's hard. It's a hard one.
This is very hard for me.
I didn't pick either one of these. So.
So he doesn't
Convince
You
me.
gotta convince me. Neither one of these are my
Both on
character.
list.
Yeah, these are both yours.
These are both yours, weren't they?
Well-
Remus and Neville.
Well, they both are similar in the sense of you can't just immediately discount one because they are. Neville's part of the Silver Trio and Lupin is a marauder. So, I mean, they both got their own little story there. It's just so hard because they're very similar in a lot of
They
ways.
are very, very similar.
They both take that quiet, supporting role, not necessarily a submissive, but definitely a support role. But they both are wildly intelligent and
They're both struggling.
magical in their own sense, and then they struggle with identity and who they are and what they're supposed to be and how others interact with them. And
Well, weren't a lot of the adult characters and a lot of the children characters written as reflections of each other? Yeah? I'm pretty sure you
that's
mentioned
the
that.
Golden and the Silver Trio, and then the Marauders.
Yeah.
The Marauders essentially are the original trio. You exclude Peter and you do James, Sirius, and Lupin, and then it's Harry, Ron, Hermione, and then it's Neville, Ginny, and Luna is kind of the
the
mirroring
groupings.
effects of the three of them. And
Mhm.
it's hard because they're not the same character in a lot of ways.
The things that I love about Remus is that he is a super humble person. That he had tragedy strike at a pretty young age, and which I think is what gave him humility that he had. It wasn't a great adventure to be a werewolf for him. He understood every day that he was putting other people at risk, but yet he was still wanted to be a young person and have adventures and hang out with his friends. But I feel like he did what he could for Harry, and I feel like in a lot of ways he was probably, I think I said this before though, one of the strongest father figures for Harry simply because he was there, he provided wisdom, but he also allowed Harry to grow, and he taught Harry things that he was afraid, like the Patronus charm and things like that. That he's afraid that it was too much for Harry, but he knew that I need to equip him.
Yeah.
And that's a great parenting move.
Well,
basically.
and also in that same vein of we touched on it last time, of the father figures that were written in for Harry, Remus was the one that Harry had the most not genuine emotional connection, but the back and forth was there. I think emotionally he probably cared for Sirius a little bit more, but it was definitely an awestruck of, you were my dad's best friend, you're like the super cool older brother uncle character, whereas Remus was more of a father, of I can come to you with anything and I can call you out just as much as you can call me out, and we have that mutual respect and understanding there in that relationship.
And Remus never stooped to the childlike level.
Right.
When Harry would
was
throw
always
a
an
fit,
adult, yes.
When he would throw a fit or when he would get mad at him, Remus would simply take it and calmly allow him to have whatever feelings he had.
To be 16 or,
Exactly. Whereas Sirius, he would pout or, well, fine if you don't want me to come hang out, and that showed, in my opinion, some immaturity on Sirius's part. But yeah, I can't say enough good things about Remus. So.
But then
Good guy.
the same thing goes for Neville.
Yes.
Neville is a great guy too.
Neville is a great guy, and he was sorely. If you're out there and you're watching this and you've only watched the movies, you are doing yourself a great disservice because you missed out on Neville Longbottom's story. I think.
Yeah,
I
he
feel
was
a lot of
not
it.
represented well in the movies at all.
Him and Ginny both kind of got the short stick that way.
Until like the very end.
In the books,
Even
they did
still.
a lot about the whole secret prophecy thing. And spoiler alert, but Neville was like, it was Harry or Neville, like,
Right.
Yeah.
and that was a big deal in the book. But like the movie, they don't even mention it. Like
Yeah, I feel
It's
like
They mention the prophecy, but they don't
people
draw
know
the
it.
parallels.
Yeah, they don't. No, nobody brings it up. But like,
Well,
the
Harry
book-
does.
They bring it up at
Whenever
the
he
end
says,
when they
hey,
first
we have a
it's a
chance to
quick
kill
minute, though,
Nagini.
like-
He says that to him because he knows everything that we know from reading
But
the book.
also-
Yeah.
But in the movies, they don't explain.
But
In the movies,
in
they
the
don't explain
movies,
it.
it
It's
doesn't
just
come
quick.
off that way. In the movies, it comes off as there's three. There's Harry, Ron, and Hermione. We all know how to destroy these things. And I'm the one who has to die. There's still one out there. Dumbledore wanted 3 people hunting them. Bring Neville in. He's the secondary character anyway. That's kind of been on the fringe.
And at that point, he was
At that
leaving.
point, anyone could have killed Nagini. Neville killing
Not
Nagini
true.
for anybody with something that could kill a Horcrux could have killed.
Which is
Nagini.
the sword. That's the only thing that could have at that point. So it had to be a worthy Gryffindor. So it's very precise people, and the first person Harry thought of was Neville.
Right,
So
but
it
I guess
gives
and
Neville a lot of
Neville being
reason.
the other half of the prophecy had nothing to do with him killing Nagini. I guess is what I'd get at.
But Harry
Right.
probably
in
put
the
the
movie.
and
Yeah,
In the book,
movie.
yeah.
Yes.
Harry put the pieces together that Neville probably deserves to have that because of everything Voldemort has done to him and his family.
I mean, a lot of people probably deserved to take
Right.
whack at
I think
Voldemort.
Harry thinks that
Honest.
Neville is worthy of it.
Yeah, because
He's
Yeah.
a Griffin.
he was the other
That's
person
why.
who this could have all happened to, and
Right.
so he can almost understand, or he probably does kind of understand the mindset you'll need behind it, kind of thing, to go through with everything.
I think one of the biggest pieces with Neville that I love is that Neville's clueless about all of this. Like we know, Harry knows.
Ron and Hermione kind
Yeah,
of know.
Dumbledore knows that this could have been Longbottom's future, but it wasn't. But he doesn't know
Could
that.
have been Neville Longbottom and definitely Hollow's
Yeah, exactly. But
Wasn't.
Neville doesn't. But he still chooses, even though he's terrified. Especially when you first meet him, he's this scared little boy who can't get anything right. But as he grows throughout the entire series, to be, he stands up for himself to Harry and Ron and Hermione, to Draco, to
Book 1.
yeah. And even though it doesn't work out well for him, he still continues to fight. And he
Yeah,
still
all the way
continues-
through the 7th book, he carries on Dumbledore's army and rescues people and brings them to the Room of Requirement and
Just attention
leads
to
the
webs.
uprising.
I mean, at the very beginning,
Wow.
like at the end of the first book, Dumbledore's like 10 points to Neville for standing up to your friends, and that's what pushes them over into winning House Cup.
Yeah.
But it's just like even
But
Dumbledore's
standing
like,
up to your friends.
Yeah.
Not an enemy, it's your friends. People of your own age, your peers.
of your own house.
Yeah.
And
So-
again, that he doesn't have to.
Mhm.
That there's no thing hanging over his head. Voldemort's not coming after him directly,
Mhm.
but Neville steps into that because he wants what's good for others. And again, Neville's one of those good characters who he was kind. He was overwhelmingly kind, and he wasn't rude.
He
and
got a
was-
bad shake, and
He was inclusive of other people, and he didn't make fun of other people. And
I mean, his best friend was one of the most ridiculed people there. You know,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, exactly.
it's a hard one. I don't like it. I don't like that they're up against each other.
Yes, I want them.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but Neville survives in the end and Remus dies. Right?
Spoilers, but yes.
Right?
Yeah.
True.
That's why.
And Neville gets a Horcrux and Remus doesn't. That's
But
2 points.
Remus gets a wife. And
Nah,
Neville
but then
doesn't.
she dies.
Yeah, she dies.
So it doesn't matter.
Remus managed to leave an orphan child behind.
Neville gets a wife eventually, doesn't he?
Taken
Yeah,
care of.
he marries Hannah Abbott.
That happens.
And then he becomes a
They both
Hermione
live.
professor.
They both live.
And then he becomes a professor at Hogwarts. He's got a good thing going.
So like he
And he
just
doesn't immediately get
he
fired.
just replaces Remus in all those counts.
Like, does he get
Married.
fired, keeps his wife,
He's not a werewolf.
and
Not a werewolf.
It's all his bad
Not
qualities.
dead.
Neville doesn't eat them. So is it really that hard?
Well, when you put it that way.
That's not fair, but I still vote for Neville.
All right, you're voting for Neville.
Now, who are you voting for?
I'm seeing what these two vote.
No,
No,
you
you're not.
Your vote.
What a cheater.
Neville or Remus?
You look like Remus's kid. You have to. What? Teddy has blue hair and glasses.
Teddy also can change how he looks.
Well, that's what
So
he
can
chooses to
you?
look.
You didn't come out with blue hair. I know for
That's
sure.
Backwards
Yes.
glasses. Or
Wear
glasses.
glasses.
You can wear contacts some days.
Those are
You
hassles.
can shave and look like a minor. Vote for your dad.
Neville or Remus?
I think I'm gonna go Remus for how he helps Harry just move forward with hard stuff, whereas Neville's just there to support Harry in his hard stuff. Remus pushes him towards growing.
Based on my criteria,
What's your
Based on-
criteria?
Based on my analysis.
they're both outside of the scope of Harry. Same way like Luna is and isn't. They don't need Harry to be good characters, and they don't rely on Harry to necessarily make themselves better. I mean, Neville a lot more than Remus. Remus has the whole thing where he wants to abandon his wife and child, which is my main point against Remus, is that he is just willing to throw it all away to run, and then Harry has to convince him no, which is kind of lame for his character. It's very off for his character because that's what happened. Whereas Neville is like, I'm just who I am, and Harry Potter just happens to be in the same year as me, but I can be just as good in my own way and be okay with that. I'm a herbologist at heart, not a flying, all-knowing how to use all the magic power as Harry is, but I'm okay with that. And so Neville is my choice of these two characters based on that, of how he can just be himself and do his own things and lead all of those people. All those people saw Harry do all of those great things with the DA, and then it's like, I could do that. I could still help all of these people. It may not be as good as what Harry did, but I can still help other people somehow in my own way.
Mhm.
And so that's why he wins, in my opinion.
So Neville. What are you picking, Rachel? These are both her characters.
I know.
She picked them both.
Want me to go first? Or you want to go?
I mean, I know who I'm gonna pick.
I know who I'm gonna pick.
All right.
One,
Dude.
2, 3.
Neville. I was hoping you were gonna pick like this with husbands, but Neville.
sorry, no, Neville. In the end, it's Neville.
Neville beats Remus, huh?
Yeah.
Good.
Neville.
He eliminates all the, like how the golden and silver trio are supposed to. They take the flaws of the original trio
Of their elders
and
in
they
general.
turn them into a good quality, is what it is.
So that's a better matchup, in my opinion, Luna versus Neville.
So are we doing bracket 3 or bracket 4 names?
We're doing Tom Riddle versus Snape next.
Tom Riddle versus Snape.
Which is another
The two big.
crazy one.
These are yours, right?
I picked Tom Riddle, but I don't think did I pick Snape?
You might have.
I didn't pick Snape.
I think
I
picked
didn't
Snape.
pick Snape for
I tried
sure.
to pick Snape.
None of mine made it past the first round. None of them. Not a one. You tell me Aragog didn't win against Remus Lupin?
So Tom Marvolo Riddle, and you decided Voldemort is Tom Riddle, right? That's
we
the
had to
character,
decide
the
that.
whole arc, like from beginning to end, not just the character of Tom Riddle, but
Yeah.
what.
Didn't you say you had a lot of you?
Yeah.
No,
yeah, and I said a lot of
Tom
things
Riddle.
last time about Tom Riddle.
Yeah, and I thought you said you had more, but you're like he's against Horse Slughorn, so I don't have to say
Well,
too much.
I don't know if I said it last time or not, but being honest about Snape, I never even considered that he might be a good guy until like 3 years
They
after I
told
read
you.
the books, and you told me that. So
That he was a good guy.
Years
Yeah.
after
They tell you he's a good guy in the book.
I didn't believe it.
Okay.
I didn't believe it. He did too many bad things along the way, and I felt like Snape was just trying to save his own skin all the way. Like he was a bad guy, and he knew he'd screwed it up, but he stayed with the bad guys because he thought they're going to win, and then he realized that Dumbledore and Harry might win, and so he played both sides. And then I think his emotion for Lily was genuine. I believe that, but I also felt that it was just a play on Snape's part to stay alive and be on whatever side was winning. When I read the books the first time, that's how I felt about it. And then when Rachel came back and said, he's the best character ever, and I was like, what are you talking about? He's a dirtbag. He was. And the movies made it even more real that he was a dirtbag. The way he treated Harry and the way that Rickman played the character in the movies was, I felt spot on all the way and never believed that he was a good guy.
How do you feel about Tom Riddle?
Tom Riddle was always a bad guy too.
Tom Riddle was up front with his bad guyness.
He was up
I
front.
mean, is what
I
he's trying to say.
did admire and like, I should not like in a like way, but the way that he was always pushing the envelope as far as magic and what he could do. And in a lot of ways, like Harry was curious about what could be done, but I think he was, they were both orphans, but Tom didn't care about other people's feelings, whereas Harry did. So
I don't think that
Tom
I
pushed
never got.
himself to,
Honestly, I never got the impression throughout the entire books that Harry was really that into magic.
yeah.
Yeah, really. He's kind of like, look at this walk. I'm like,
You
what are you gonna do magic? He's like, oh yeah.
He's like, I have one spell and it works.
Why do I need to get good at any other spells if I can just yeet people's wands out of their hand?
Don't make any spells.
Don't fear a man who's practiced 1,000 kicks one time. Fear the man who practiced one kick 1,000 times.
Right.
Bruce Lee.
That is Harry Potter's mantra.
Yeah.
Patronus and yeet. That's all we need.
Broom, that's fine.
Well,
with me.
and his broom.
Dear
He was
Yeet.
perfectly content to ride that crappy school broom, and then he was like, "Oh, someone gave me a better one. I'll just ride it
All right.
forever until it gets exploded, and then I'll just not have one."
Right.
He's got mounds of money, and he never once buys another broom. Someone else is like, "Hey, pup, you want a broom?" And he's like,
I never
"Oh,
did.
yeah."
Speaking of the buying a broom, why did Harry Potter never buy Ron Weasley a second wand when it broke it?
When he broke
second
it.
year, yeah, when they crashed the car. Like he's got. That's the same book that he discovered. He's got
Stop.
millions of dollars in the bank, and like
But he
Ron-
bought the stupid obnoxious.
Yeah.
One time he bought one gift over 7 books. He's like, "Here you go. Here's a handful of fake money."
Over 7 years of
Hermione buys both of them multiple gifts every birthday and Christmas, and Harry can't be bothered to buy one gift
Yeah, he's
one time.
I mean, wands are like
doesn't get it.
pencils in the real, in the Muggle world. Like, everybody has one. They're
Everybody has
everywhere.
one.
Like,
Everybody has one.
I know there's only like 2 people in the world that make them, but buy your best friend a wand. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Or
why
better
do you
dress
never do
rooms,
that?
or give Molly
Anything.
some rent money for spending all your time.
The only
Oh,
argument against
wand.
that is the fact that Harry's poor. He has no money. He doesn't understand the concept
He
of
has
giving things to friends.
So much money. He goes to
Right.
crickets and he's like, all
But
this
his
money in this
entire
whole room.
life, he's
Dude,
never
they-
allowed to buy
He
anything.
spent like hundreds of dollars
was
on the
raised
chocolate on
that
the
way.
train. Like,
He did. He
So
did.
he was up the whole mill.
His money on the.
so what is it like? You go into the wine store and you're like, here, I don't,
But
whatever. Buy the
Ollivander
wand.
did.
That was fresh, right after going to Green Guys.
Yeah, but still.
What
like, I'm
fresh?
I'm rich.
You knowing Harry and his character, he just forgets. He even said in the 4th book, "I didn't realize it was
Okay,
fake
maybe
money."
he did forget, but
He
as
forgets
Ron,
that he's so rich. and he
homie, you're my
doesn't
best friend.
buy.
Like, hook me up with like a
And
coin or
Ron tells him
something
not to buy himself.
so I can buy a wand.
Ron also
It
said
is-
that multiple
It is
times.
true that
Ron is
puts,
not okay with
that
it.
puts the relationship again out of order. For
It is
Ron.
a very stereotypical male relationship, though. Of, no, bro, don't buy me anything. All right, I'll never buy you anything.
Not even for Christmas or your birthday.
Or it's like, you know, me and one of my girlfriends went out and I'd be like, oh, don't worry about it, I'll buy it this time or something. Or, oh, no, don't buy me anything. Next time they buy me a coffee. Or, you know, whatever. But, no, bro, don't worry about it. All right, done. Those candies on the train our first year when we were 11,
Never
that's
again.
it. That's it. I'm marrying your sister, but I'm never giving you another gift. Nothing.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
So Tom Riddle and Snape.
Sorry. That was a lot. You can put that in when we're talking about.
That's gonna be our cold
Yeah, that
open.
was somebody else. Ron
Our
or
intro
Harry
or
never
something.
even made it. So.
Yeah,
Didn't
nobody
make the
from the
list.
Golden Trio made it on the board, to be
No.
honest.
Okay.
I
So-
think the problem is we all want Tom and Snape to go on, so no
Do
one
we?
wants. I want them to go on.
It's a very hard matchup for me.
Double Snake.
Yeah, obviously Voldemort. You know, we can't have the books without Voldemort, but that's the same argument you can have for Harry Potter. So,
Right.
so that's not a great argument. But
I think as Snape, even though I didn't believe his story, I think as a character in the books, he did a great job of making both sides believe him,
Right.
and he was Riddle's, I'll say, number 2 guy, and he was Dumbledore's number 2 guy. Like he was
Two greatest
top.
wizards at the time.
He was the top of both sides, and I don't think anyone else in either of those 2 camps really trusted him or
right,
had good feelings about him. But
because
They-
he's very lonely.
they
Yeah.
let him,
Well, I mean,
you know.
Bellatrix didn't like him. Narcissa and Lucius didn't like him.
But they
Remus and
still
Snape clearly didn't like him.
Interacted
Remus,
with
yeah,
him though, and they still did. You know, they knew
what power he held.
what, and you know, he was part of the whole thing of taking care of Draco, and you know that whole
Mhm.
thing with.
They did, yeah. That
Bellatrix
is,
and-
they didn't trust him, but Narcissa did come to
Yeah.
him and be like, "Look, make this vow with me, and you know, my sister is
And
a
they,
witness."
and they probably did it
you know.
using him, but he went through with it.
Yeah, he did it.
And
Threat of
He-
death.
he not only did it in the moment, but he also did it in the end to take care of Draco. But
Who he did, I feel like, have genuine affection for. It was
Right.
noted he did give, you know, he did favor Slytherins in general, but Draco especially, you know, he was okay at potions. He was, you know, in the books up there with Hermione in all the lessons and things, and he gave him special
He was
instruction. And
competent, yeah.
yeah, he was a really good wizard.
Snape is very layered. I feel like he's more layered in a lot of ways than Voldemort. In the characters, in the books.
Get your Shrek out of here. DreamWorks has
So I
no
think
rights.
I think it would be interesting. Both Snape and Dumbledore, I feel like, have some similarities in both being mysterious and both having stories that I would have liked to flesh out more and to know more about what their thoughts, their feelings, and why they acted the way they did. So you know, Snape is a very
He's an acquired taste, for
Yeah.
sure.
yeah.
I think Alan Rickman did a fantastic job and brought Snape's character to life.
I do
Probably one of the best
performances.
of all of the movies, of the different characters. And that's just, I mean, that was just Alan Rickman. You can't, if they'd put anybody else in there, I don't think it would have brought it across and done as good a job, but watching it there, that maybe a little tipping scale there of who goes on as far as
Right.
Snape or Riddle, but tough. What say you, Quentin, Jacob?
I mean, I think, like, they're both very nuanced characters, but I like Riddle. Like, I want to know more about his story, like, more just his thought process on everything. Snape, you know, we kind of figure out why he did everything, and so it's like, for me, his story's kind of, it was open, mysterious, and then closed, and then Tom Riddle, we really know nothing about his backstory. We know nothing about him. We get little snippets, but not enough to really piece a full story together. And so,
And not really from his point of view.
yeah, it's all from all colored by, you know, people
Dumbledore.
he's hurt or Dumbledore or through other people. And so I think Tom Riddle is an interesting character, albeit evil, but interesting.
I'm trying to figure out how it fits into my formula of how I've been choosing people because I want to stay consistent. I want to say Tom Riddle, but according to what I have set in motion, Tom Riddle literally decides I'm going to tie myself to Harry Potter.
Mhm.
And so from that point on, he's driven by what Harry Potter does.
But he didn't know that he was doing that.
Yeah, he did.
He did. Once he heard the prophecy,
He decided Harry was the one
He
that's going to kill
connected
him.
in his brain. Oh, that must be Lily and James's kid.
Not Neville.
He could have went to Neville, but he
Arguably, if you
did
went to
that.
Neville, it would have went a lot better. Could have ended up being the same, which is a different character. But that was his first thought: is I'm going to fight the two hardest people to fight, and I'm going to tie myself to this child. And then after that point, that was his whole agenda: was I got to kill Harry Potter
Yeah, everything he did
because
was
he's the only
motivated by
one that's
that.
going to be able to stop me. So that's his character is the most directly tied to Harry, in my opinion, because he has to everything he does, he has to do against Harry, whether or not it's to kill Harry as Harry or to fulfill the overall prophecy of magic of this guy's the one that's going to beat me. So that's why Snape moves on, is because Snape, yes, he's tied to Harry because he loves his mother, but that's arguably has nothing to do with Harry. He doesn't like Harry at all because it's too much of James. So he could care less about Harry, it's more about his mother. And then Dumbledore convinces him that because you love his mother, you got to help him out. So he's not directly linked to Harry and can be his own standalone character, and does, and redeems himself in the books by, in the end, helping Harry instead of just killing him or whatever else he would have done if he was on Voldemort's side. I don't know exactly what he would do, but so Snape is a better character than Voldemort, according to me.
I mean, we all know which way I'm gonna vote. So
Alright.
Tom Riddle. That's a good argument to stand on his own, but I was convinced that Snape was a bad guy, but I knew that Tom Riddle was a bad guy. And he stayed true all the way with the layers and with the potential turnaround. I gotta go with Snape.
I'm Snape.
Camp Snape.
So everybody but you then? You voted for Voldemort?
I voted for Voldemort simply because I want to know more about the character.
No,
I
it's
know
a good
enough
point. We
about
don't know, yeah.
Snape.
He could be the best. That's how you were voting.
Yeah.
Because currently, he isn't the best. Because we don't know enough about him. And that's something of why I didn't go for Tom's, because we don't know enough.
Mhm.
He could be really good. There could be some really awesome stuff that he does.
I bet
all
there's
the bad,
crazy stories from when he
but
was
there's
little.
some good stories
killing
that could
her in
be
the
written.
bathroom?
Well,
That's
Right.
probably right up there.
But how he does it. That could make him a really good character. Not good, but the best Harry Potter character.
Like branding his classmates.
Again, very interesting story. Nobody else does it.
Nobody else does it.
Nobody else does.
You're right. No one else brands their classmates.
Killing.
But with
With
what
the
we
curse
know,
that if he
soul's
goes
not
like
there.
this, they're immediately forced to come near him. Like
Yep.
that's a little dramatic.
which makes him the best wizard. I mean, honestly, he's a really good wizard.
We're not doing best wizard.
On demand
This
followers.
would be different.
Well, that fits in the criteria of the best
Yeah.
Harry Potter character. That's
Yeah.
a box you have to fill. Is he a
Yeah.
good wizard or not?
Oh, well, that wasn't one of my boxes because that would
Why
change
wouldn't
so
it
much.
be? Everything's about the wizarding world and what makes them good at
Not
what
a
they're
good
doing.
wizard, no.
Well, she's a good wizard. She's a good witch. She's good at it.
All right.
She fills that
Next, Dumbledore versus good old P&B down
box.
there.
B. Well, I don't think Phineas and Nigelus can really stand up, to be honest, against Dumbledore. Because
They're both portraits.
by the criteria of him moving on above Cormac, was that he gave more to Harry than Cormac did. And obviously Dumbledore gave Harry a lot more to be Harry
They're both
than
headmasters.
Phineas did.
They were both headmasters. They both did assist Harry in his mission of
They're
defeating
both
Dumbledore.
After the dead.
They
after
both
they
taught
died.
They
pretty
died,
great
yeah.
wizards.
They
Phineas
both
taught Albus, and Albus
Transfiguration.
taught
Right?
Tom
and Harry.
Yeah.
They didn't teach him, but it's a teacher to him. So,
All right.
Are we gonna spend a lot of time on this one?
no,
Albus.
not really.
Okay.
We gotta give
I
him a
think this-
shot,
I
man.
think
There was a
honestly,
shot.
this
He was
is
on the
an
list.
Interesting last couple matchups: Luna and Neville, Snape and Albus, and
And
then
then
whoever
who
beats
knows? The winner.
Luna,
Luna and Neville.
Luna Lovegood versus Neville
The
Longbottom.
Silver Trio.
The
competition.
silver trio.
Two of the three
The
silver,
silver Hermione and the Silver. Well, I guess the Silver Harry and the Silver Ron. Because that would make Ginny the Hermione.
Yeah.
But I almost feel like Jenny's more of a Harry sometimes.
So you think with the Golden Trio, there's like they're very specific in what they are, but then with the Silver Trio, they can kind of flow in between.
Well, the thing with the trios is you've got the original trio, which, like Snape, very intricate and good and bad, but also like Snape, you don't get a lot, so you can't. You got to do some deep diving to see all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Golden Trio is blatantly good, almost no flaws except for like they each get 2 glaring flaws. I feel like. And then you've got the Silver Trio, which are almost the best versions of their 2 former counterparts. But they're quieter and they don't have as much of a standout role, so then, of course, their negative flaws are not as accentuated as the others, too, which makes it hard to compare. But these 2 are from the same trio set, so that also makes it difficult.
I mean, I don't think it's that difficult. I think it's a pretty easy one.
Yeah.
I think Neville just beats Luna and pretty much
I was thinking,
all around.
I was just thinking, I'm like, I think Neville is a more compelling character than Luna. Luna's a great character, don't get me wrong, but I just think Neville is just overall goes further than Luna in like what he does and what he can do, and Luna's just kind of like, I don't really need a whole lot. I'm gonna
Luna
just
drove me crazy when
chill.
I was reading the books. Like, where are you? Like, what are you doing? Like,
She was too magical.
she was just
That was the
everywhere.
problem.
in this.
Because she would
Yeah.
make up stuff. You're like, I know it's a magic book.
She
There's a lot of
like
things that I
joke.
don't know about.
Just all of
She's
the
just making it up.
like these things exist.
Well,
Dude,
also,
Just like
I'm also reading my book upside down right now because that's what you're supposed to do.
well, that's like Super Carlin Brothers. They posted a video the other day talking about how magical the books are, and then, you know, that Luna adds in those things. But they were also like, I wonder how much of the like magical quaintness of Harry Potter is just also British stuff. That we're like, oh, they had a trolley witch on a train. Like, that might just be like a thing if you go to Europe. They're like, yeah, we have those here. But we're like, magical, how cute.
One of the things that I think is really interesting is because we put these 2 in the same category and we've talked about that, but as afraid that Neville is, Luna is that confident.
Yes.
That's something that's
Yeah.
very striking of
All the way
2 of them.
through.
Yes, that she is so unafraid of anything. And like her mom died when she had a lot of things for her
She did have
to
a lot of
have
credit.
been afraid. Do you
Just
know what I
like
mean?
Neville, yeah.
Yeah, who was this constant, you know,
That's
conspiracy
crazy.
theory. And so you would
Who
think
was
that
never around, by the way. Like,
but you would think that she
Where
would
is that
totally
guy?
be
Monopolis
afraid.
or
But
whatever
it's
his
just
name
like,
was.
Xenophilius Lovegood.
but she was never afraid, and that is so
Well,
surprising. to
see,
me.
but Neville was scared, yeah, and like Luna's just the same throughout. Like,
Family
she's
got
very
wrecked by
consistent.
Voldemort.
But
And
Neville
his grandma was
traumatizing.
pretty crazy.
Neville grew and
Oh,
gained that
absolutely.
courage.
Yes.
And
Yes, he did.
He advanced his
Luna's
plot,
mom
he
died.
grew as a person.
and Neville's parents did.
Yeah, but she died of
She saw that
sickness.
still
Yeah.
all.
No,
like,
she
Neville
died
saw
because
it
she got
every day, so that
exploded.
would be.
Was it
By a
exploded?
crumple horn
No,
slide or whatever the heck it was.
No, I thought she got sick.
That's
Or was she
what
just sick and
that's
she was
what she
8?
said she died from. Luna said. But if you dig deep and you do some Pottermore research, there is evidence to support she may have been something else.
Exploded.
No, she may have been whatever Nagini was, a person that turns into an animal.
Oh
She
yeah.
might have been one of those. But that's a different theory for a different time. Anyway.
But again, his family, Neville's family, literally gets tortured by Bellatrix
To
Lestrange.
insanity.
And he is still able to stand up against her by the end of the story.
Yeah.
And then he
So-
can stand up and be like, even though you've done this and have traumatized me
I'm
for the
not
rest of my
scared
life, I'm not scared anymore. And I've grown. Whereas
So-
Luna's just always been that way. So
Yeah.
it's a less of an arc. I mean, she gets some, because she becomes a better character through being with Harry, but Neville overcomes his childhood trauma in the story.
Whereas I don't
see it.
honestly, like, speaking like overcoming childhood trauma, I don't know if Luna's ever really dealt with it. I think she's just rationalized it and just moved on. She never worked through it and got over it. It was just oh, this happened.
Thestrals.
Thestrals, okay.
Talk about
It's not even a theory. It's a fact by J.K. Rowling, which is unfortunate. But
9 times out of 10, that is.
how you see a Thestral is you have to see somebody die and then process that and come to terms with how they are dead. That's how they work. And so your
Which is
argument
why
doesn't
Harry
work
couldn't
out.
see them right after Cedric died because he had not processed.
And again,
Because, I
we
mean,
saw his
when
mom.
someone dies,
I was gonna watch that video in like 4 months. Why are you
Well,
spoiling it for me?
spoilers.
Yeah.
But like when someone dies, they're dead, and you understand they died. But eventually, they touch on when it kicks in. Of, I'm never going to see them again. My life will continue, and they won't be there. They won't see these milestones. They are gone now, and I am now moving on from that point of my life. That's when you get to see them. That's why it's the next year. He's had all summer to process, think about it, understand, come to terms, and now he can see them.
So
And
I thought
also, you
I
know,
didn't even consider.
little children, it didn't count. You know, they died, but he's a baby.
See,
You
that's
have
what I
no
was
object
like. I
permanence,
didn't even
you
think
don't-
of Cedric. I thought it was Sirius, but then no, it was way after he started seeing the Thestrals that Sirius died, and I was like, it must be his parents. But then I was like,
Too soon.
but then it was too soon. So
And
it was,
so
it was Cedric's death.
Luna was alive. She was 8.
Yeah.
She was
she
there
eventually
when her mom
came
died,
to
too.
terms with it before the first
Okay.
year of Hogwarts because she'd seen them since the beginning.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
doesn't necessarily work out for what you're saying.
Okay.
Which is also
That I
why
didn't
there's
know.
a you know
So-
fan thought process of after the
Head
battle
canon.
of Hogwarts. You know, during the battle people aren't seeing things, but after the following year, people can see what's pulling the carriages and things like that because you've had time to compute and understand and process all of those things. But
Okay.
Neville and Luna.
Yes, Neville. And
I'm going with Neville.
I mean, I think I'm gonna have to agree.
I think Neville wins because again, his parents. He still takes care of his parents, even though they don't know who he is, and he is still willing to love them and try and help them, even though he knows that there's no point.
Yeah.
And so that just shows that he is just a stronger character overall than Luna.
I agree.
Also, I mean, we get to see more of Neville, so it's a lot
True.
easier to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas Luna, it's like
True.
Harry's like she's just weird, and she follows us around. That's what Harry's idea of her is.
Harry
basically
kind
the
of
entire
tried to
time.
avoid her for like
Right.
for
A little bit, yeah.
first
Yeah.
yeah. Don't, you're weird.
At the end, he
Don't
trusted
go
her,
here. Yeah,
but he
he
was
did.
still like, "You are the weird one."
Yeah.
And I have
She's
the
like,
least connection with you
I know.
specifically. Whereas Neville, we get to see more of his story, so that helps him a lot more.
But going in that same way of why Neville is better, Neville befriended Luna intentionally.
Exactly.
He wanted to be her friend. He spent time with her and got to know her and was close with her.
So Neville.
Neville is.
Neville.
Neville wins.
That was unanimous. I think
Neville's
probably the first
won.
one. That was the first unanimous vote. Am I wrong there?
That's
Oh,
probably
we did
that
no.
too.
He
I voted for
I
me.
think
He and for Hagrid both
voting
times.
Myrtle.
And I don't know about Moni Moonero if you voted for her or not. I don't remember.
Who's she against? Neville?
Luna. Luna.
Oh.
It's voting
I can't
Myrtle,
remember
doesn't
if you-
matter.
No, I think I voted for Luna. 'Cause
Alright.
I just didn't like Mom.
So big matchup.
Ugh,
Snape
Snape
versus
and Albus.
Snape
Albus.
versus Albus.
The other side to the same coin we just had.
Right.
Or it's now the good version of Snape.
Yeah.
But I would rather see Albus continue on, just because
Put Albus against Neville.
Snape is kind of just a bad guy, and then chooses to be good eventually. He's got a lot of good things going
Albus
on.
wasn't always a good guy, though, was he?
But that's not the point of the best character. I think Albus just has more, and we even get more of his backstory than we do most everybody else.
I don't think we get
directed
any
by
more
Harry.
of his backstory that we do of Snape's backstory.
I think we honestly might get more of Snape's because
We
we get a
get-
little bit of Albus.
Well, we get a little bit of
Young life.
both. We get those flashes of when Petunia, Lily, and Snape were children, and we also get those flashes from when Grindelwald and Aberforth and Dumbledore were children, and then we get a little bit about what they did between that period and in Hogwarts, and then we get a little, we don't get a ton about either of them. And
I guess-
everything we get is, well, that's weird. That doesn't line up with what we already knew. You know what I mean? It's all kind of, well, now what do I do with this information?
Well, I guess just from what I remember, like, yes, you get a little, like, Albus tells you a little bit about his life, but, like, Snape just is like, here's all my
The
memories
most
of
stuff you
my
learn
early
about
life.
Dumbledore's life, though, you learn after he's dead from Aphelios.
Yeah.
Well, he wrote the book about him, and he goes to Godric Hollow and talks to fake Bathilda. I mean, and he steals that book and reads it. I mean, that's where you find out the most about Dumbledore's past. It isn't from Dumbledore. It's from a book someone wrote trying to make money after he died. Like, that's weird.
I think it's really hard because I feel like so much of some important parts of Albus and very important parts of Snape, you find out at the end of the book when you're reading fast, trying to find out what's happening, and all the clues are falling into place. So I think both of them make it's really difficult to talk about their overall character because you know so little about them all the way through the book.
Well, and the thing is too, you know, one is lined up until the end. Good. Maybe not so good. Maybe actually kind of really bad. I don't really know what happened, but it's over now. The other one is bad. He actually did a lot of really good stuff, but also maybe did some bad things, but I don't really know, but it's over now. It's very mirrored in that sense, which is good, and which is why they're both good characters, and which is why they made it to the Final Four. But is also incredibly frustrating when you put them against each other.
Yeah. I think when you talk about wisdom, I think that Albus has more wisdom than Snape.
Right.
I think
Well, he's like 200 years older than Snape too.
But just in general, that Albus can see where he makes mistakes, be humble, own up to mistakes, and say, you know, I don't have it all together. Now, with what Snape's trying to do, that wouldn't have worked for him to be forthcoming with that because it would have made all of his house of cards fall down. But I don't think that Snape has wisdom. Snape hasn't learned from his mistakes. He feels sorry that that Lily is dead. But beyond that, I don't know for sure. Does Snape care about the world at large, or is it still just about Lily?
Snape's world.
Yeah, I think Snape's just a lot more emotional than Albus on that wisdom front. It's like he's
But I think,
he's more going to
again,
react instead of think and then react.
Dumbledore went through that same sort of great love and loss in a tragic way because of his own mistake that Snape went through. But because he is so much older, he had time to think about those things and rework and become a different person. Whereas we're seeing Snape in the middle of that, and he doesn't get to that end arc because he dies.
Well, in the end, he's obviously done something right because he's becomes headmaster. Snape does.
Because Voldemort
Hogwarts.
took over.
But I'm just saying, he was powerful enough and taught students and was headmaster. And as far as the story goes, Albus was wise enough to realize that if he is killed with the Elder Wand, it can't be taken from him by Voldemort. And he convinces Snape to do it, and Snape stands up and does it. Although he does give the wand away, but he still comes through with his part to keep Voldemort from taking over everything, and so
I
follows
think
through with taking care of Draco.
I think for sure, without
Gives
a doubt,
the tears to Harry.
when you talk about courage, I do not think that there is a character that has more courage than Snape. Snape's life was on the line the entire time, the whole time.
He got found out at all.
Yeah, that he could face death, and that he had to live alone. You know, and Dumbledore was his only friend. And even if Dumbledore, and sometimes you're just like, did they really like each other or not? I don't know. Snape didn't hang out with people.
Right.
You know, but
Dumbledore
Snape,
was basically a jerk to him every time they were in secret meetings.
But
According to the
Snape-
memories of Snape. It
Snape
could be
came
altered.
through,
That's how Snape was
You know,
seeing it.
but he did come through, like you were saying, you know, he didn't have to contain the curse to Dumbledore's hand.
right.
He didn't have to give Dumbledore any information. He didn't have to. You know, a lot of those things I think were born out of desperation. I don't know where else to go, but he does make a promise and keep it.
Yes.
But, and arguing with myself, I think there might have been a part of he killed Albus knowing that Albus had the Elder Wand and he could have it then.
I don't
And
think so.
he would have that power.
I don't think he wanted the power at all. Because I think he took power in when he had that information and he took it back to Voldemort and Voldemort killed Lily. And I think that killed his desire for power. At that moment, he realized, I don't want power anymore. I didn't do so hot with power. Because the person that I loved in this world is now dead because I went to go seize power for myself. And I think that was also, obviously, was the moment for him to turn against Voldemort was that I asked you to save, I don't care if you kill Harry. He didn't care if you killed James. Kill the whole world, just don't kill her. And he did it anyway. And I think that is one of those moments where you're like, it's kind of interesting what would have happened had he allowed Lily to live.
Mhm.
Would Snape have fought so hard? I don't know. Snape is. They're both very interesting characters, and I
Yeah.
really want to know. I would like to know more information about Albus,
Mhm.
and I'm hoping like the Crimes of Grindelwald series
Comes through for us.
Yeah, to give me more of that backstory.
It is hard. I almost feel like, though, if we're going overarching characters affecting the plotline and growth and character development, I mean, Snape is obviously my favorite, but Dumbledore checks more of the boxes in that sense for the matchup. Of just because I do think we get to see the end game of his arcs, whereas Snape, like I said, I feel like we see him in the middle. We saw who he was, we saw this great life-changing event, and now he's working through all those thoughts and feelings and emotions and the times, and he doesn't quite make it to the end of his arc, and so you don't get to see that. So as far as growth and plot,
Well, and I think
Dumbledore checks more of the boxes
He figured
for
out
this matchup.
the Elder Wand and the cape and the ring and not only figured it out, but found them all.
Well, and he juggled
And
so many things.
Got
too.
them all. They were all around. I know somebody has to tie them together in the story, but
Mhm.
Yeah.
he did that, and I don't think anybody realized they were all that close until the end when he basically gave them to Harry.
to Harry.
Yeah,
He's
he
like,
gave
hey,
them to Harry. He's like,
I did this.
here you go.
You
Go
probably
read
want
this thing on that plaque right over there. You know, they'll
Yeah.
tell you all about this stuff. You know, so
I think it's
the heart of
interesting
those two characters.
to me because Albus had to play this whole role where he needed everybody to like and respect him, which is what happened, including Voldemort. And
Right.
Snape had
Well, not
to play.
like, but respected.
No, he
I
lied.
still think he liked him.
On Voldemort.
That's why he came back
Yeah.
to become a teacher. Was one point obviously to get Horcrux
Get
stuff,
into
but
the-
also
yeah.
he wanted to learn from Dumbledore and
Yeah.
use that power to his own advantage.
Yeah, Dumbledore's the one who introduced him to the fact that he could be at Hogwarts. There was
Okay.
a little bit, and he never killed Dumbledore.
That's
he had
bad.
opportunity.
They have lots
Okay.
of opportunity.
So, and then I think you look at Snape, on the other hand, he had to play a role where I have to make sure everybody hates me. Everybody
Nobody
has to hate
completely trusts me.
me.
Yeah.
Exactly. Everybody has to hate
Yeah, I
me.
don't.
And no one can get close to me.
Nobody.
Exactly. Except for I have to make sure that Dumbledore believes in me and Voldemort believes in me. Holy crap.
The
That's,
two guys that are
yeah,
fighting against each other,
yeah.
they both have to believe me.
And I have to balance
How do I
this.
play that?
Clemency. Easy. Easy
Well,
win.
and I don't think he didn't necessarily have to just get Albus and Voldemort. Like, he had to convince all the Death Eaters to an extent that he was with them, but he also had to convince the entire Order of the Phoenix that he was with them too, to
Right.
enough that
He got invited to meetings.
he was invited to the meetings
They
as
didn't
kind of
kill him in the.
yeah, they
Behind the
didn't.
back.
Yeah, and so
But again, not ever belonging.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That would just
It's a
be,
long, lonely life for both of them.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows and likes Dumbledore, but no one knows Dumbledore.
and everybody wants a
Even
piece of it.
Elphius Doge, the guy that was his best friend, doesn't know.
right.
Mhm.
Later years.
His best friend, or was it just the guy who lived?
Well,
Yeah,
they were
they were
close
the
friends at
same
Hogwarts,
age.
and
Oh,
they were
okay.
supposed to go travel abroad together, but
Okay.
instead,
Back to
his family got sick, so then he became friends with Grindelwald, and then he stopped talking to everyone else because he was with Grindelwald.
Mhm.
Then Grindelwald, all that happened, and so then he didn't hang out with anybody.
So, are we ready to vote? Or do we have more to say?
I don't know,
I think I'm
because
ready.
I was like leaning towards Albus just because I like Albus a little bit more than Snape. Then Mom's argument, I was like, oh, maybe Snape does deserve the win. Then I was like, I don't know.
But the thing
though.
is, like, I
because
was
in the final
thinking-
arguments, I was like, now I'm back on Albus. but then you immediately went from being like Albus has everybody like respect him and all these things, but then Snape, I was like, come on. I was hoping one of you.
Put your votes in.
I was
While
trying to
we
see if
debate,
it'd almost be
who is
better
it?
if, like, it was Snape, Luna, and Longbottom Albus, but I don't think those would be any easier matchups either, so I don't know. But I know where
think I
I'm going.
decided.
Yeah, what is it, Rachel?
Against my better judgment, I think
Oh,
I'm gonna
there
have
you
to go with
go.
Dumbledore.
Whoa!
Just for the growth and the
Dumbledore.
development of his
Really?
character arc. Whereas I feel like Snape, like I said, we got cut short, we didn't get to see that, so it makes him a more messy character as far as that goes.
Which is funny because I came into it thinking I was going to pick Albus, and I'm picking Snape. And I'm picking Snape because some of my criteria as I pick through things is that he's consistent in character, he's consistent to who he is, and then the fact that I feel like he has a more interesting character arc than Albus. I feel like Albus is more flat.
One-dimensional.
He's the godlike character. He's the untouchable. He's the main guy, and I personally feel like Snape's road was way harder to travel.
And I feel like it would have been way better, but we didn't get the ending, is why I picked what I picked. So
that's where we're at. What do you guys
does that throw up your game?
No, I think I made my decision
What do you
before.
think?
I'm gonna go with Snape because yes, the story got cut. His story got cut short, but we got to see more of his story. We got to see more of. Yes, he's dealing with all these things and it's messy, and he doesn't quite get to the resolution of that. But Albus, he's what? How old is Albus?
Too old.
Really old. He's a couple hundred years old, and so it's like he did the majority of his growing and stuff well before we ever knew him.
Right.
And we know him in his last, 10 years or whatever. And so we only see the final fruition of his plans. We don't see him planning, him dealing with stuff, him planting all these seeds and that kind of stuff. We see Snape being more active in like growing and trying to figure things out, whereas Albus is just like, okay, I've started my plan, now I just have to make sure the ball is rolling in the right direction, give it little nudges.
I feel
Whereas
like
Snape is working harder to get his ball rolling and keep it rolling.
I feel like
So.
Snape has a greater risk involved in what he had to do during this time frame that we met him. His risk was great. I haven't lived any life, I haven't done anything, but I am signing up to save the world and
Or destroy it.
yeah.
Kind of
And
thing.
whereas Dumbledore's got to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway,
True.
so what about
I'm
you guys?
Snape. So we got
As of
two.
right now, in the current
Snape,
story
Dumbledore.
that we have, because Dumbledore can have better or worse story in the future. But I'm saying Albus as Albus is right now.
Okay.
So I'm future-proofing this video, because if it goes downhill with the
Future-proofing?
Fantastic Beasts and all of that garbage that could happen with Albus, I think Albus right now has the best possible story, and it could be better, but there's a lot more chance of it being worse because of what's going to happen. So right now, like Snape as we know him and Albus as we know him, I think Albus wins out as the best character because he knows more, he's done more. He could have still done more, but decided to sacrifice himself in order to continue the plan, which is arguably harder than Snape just dying for the plan. I don't know if Snape necessarily, I don't think Snape came to the decision that he was going to have to die
Right.
at some point for the wand. I think how Albus has set it up is, you're going to kill me, here's the wand, now somebody has to overpower you. You don't have to die to get that wand to somebody else, but don't let Voldemort have it.
Right.
But he didn't necessarily sign up knowing that, I'm going to die if I do this. He didn't choose that, whereas Dumbledore's like, I am choosing to go ahead and sacrifice myself and trust that other people can continue on my plan that I've been doing for 9-10 years at this point. So that's why I think Dumbledore is the better of the two characters. Could be worse. It might be worse.
I mean, Snape.
So if we do revise this, I think Snape will win. But
So it's all up
Yeah.
to you,
I know.
John.
hey,
Is that mine? Is that great? Thanks for that.
It's an editor's
Smash
note.
This is, of all the people on the board that we picked, this is probably one of the hardest choices between the two characters, I think.
That's valid.
As I read the books, I did not like Snape, as I said. As I watched the movies, I felt that his character portrayal was probably better than all the rest. Partly because there was 5 different people who played Albus Dumbledore
Right.
in the series of movies, and it wasn't.
It's two.
It was inconsistent.
I think
Yeah,
like
2 or 3.
Yeah.
But still.
I think the
I mean,
first two died
yeah.
after their movies.
Right. So it made it a little hard, which I think they kind of changed the editing in the movies because of Albus's. The original guy would played it a whole different than the next. That's
Besides the point.
yeah.
look,
I can't
loud
make that
Dumbledore,
my
not
deciding
good
factor.
Dumbledore. That's not what I'm basing this on,
No.
by the way. Yelling
Did you put your name
Dumbledore,
on the
different
file?
guy.
As far as characters, I agree. I think Snape was consistent all the way through. he played both sides. I did feel that Dumbledore a lot of times just kind of felt like he was winging it, making it up. Like, oh, crap, there's a problem. Everybody expects me to have an answer. Okay, let's do this. You know what I mean? And the God character, it's always got what he's doing there. All the arguments have been made for both sides, and I guess I'm kind of like you in the sense of I came into this thinking I was going to vote one way, and now I'm going the other way because Albus did give himself up to be killed at the end. However, Snape stepped up to kill the greatest wizard of all time. Like, how do you do that? And so,
But it's not really a fair fight. Dumbledore says, kill me! You have to kill me!
Dumbledore just did point a wand like a unloaded gun and then.
And only Snape knew that it was unloaded. Everybody else like, bro, that's impressive.
Yeah.
But Dumbledore's like,
Right.
yeah, not really.
I mean, okay, when you say it that way, but still.
But according to everybody else, yes, he defeats the
Snape
greatest
did know at that time that if I do this, I'm committing to
Right.
protecting this, and he did make that decision. And so,
Tough
based
decision.
on character evolution and all the other previously said arguments,
Say his name.
I'm choosing Snape.
I couldn't imagine that one Snape anyways.
I know, and I didn't. So I didn't want Snape to win. Come on, Neville.
He might not win.
To immediately jump off of that and going into this new argument,
Neville versus Snape.
when,
Neville versus Snape.
when Snape does kill Dumbledore, at that moment he also has to agree to the fact of, I now have to trust Harry Potter that he's
Right.
going to finish what Dumbledore said he's going to do.
Right.
And throughout the entire time that Snape has known Harry, he does not trust him and does not think
Right.
he is good at anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, not even that he's not going to execute the plan, that he's just garbage at all things
Everything.
wizard.
And
like,
he just
you're kind of
slides
good at
along.
Quidditch, and that's it. Like,
And I mean, he's not wrong. Harry's
pretty close.
He knows one spell, man.
you know,
And it
it's
works. But if you're somebody like Snape or Albus, it's like, there could be so much more to make this so much easier on
They're
you
like,
if
"Why
you
couldn't
use
Hermione?"
these things. If you understood occlumency, I wouldn't have to worry. That's
Right.
Snape's thing, is if you were to just let me teach you how to do occlumency, then I wouldn't have to worry. But whenever he kills Albus, he's like, yes, okay. I trust Albus enough to trust Harry. So that does give him merit as the best character now that Albus is out. I am more than willing to agree with that sense, because
To
that is a
concede
good
Snape.
thing towards Snape, of that he is able to indirectly trust Harry because Dumbledore had said that it will work out, and Snape trusted him enough to do it.
Yeah.
Because up
Which-
until that point, Dumbledore was just running the whole thing. And Snape was just like, you're running the whole thing, and I'm just going to listen to you. But as soon as he's gone, it's like, okay, what happens after you're gone, though? Like, what if this doesn't work out? No, you're not here. Nobody can ask you what to do next. And there's a lot of
All the
people
chips
that
on
are
the table.
competent enough that have information. And Snape knows that Harry has information, but doesn't know what that information is.
Which, to jump off of that though, you have Neville, who has none of that information,
None.
and then
Doesn't need
still
to.
blindly
Trust.
follows Harry and goes, Harry and Dumbledore, this is what they
Well, I
do.
don't think- well,
this
I mean-
is what I'm gonna do. You know, he's not following a plan that Harry set or that Dumbledore set, but he knows right from wrong. He knows how to step up and be a leader. He doesn't need someone like Snape needed someone to tell him what to do.
Right.
He makes the decision of, I have the sword, I'm gonna kill the bad guy Snake, not knowing exactly what it is or what
Why?
it means.
Really.
You know, he steps up and he leads Dumbledore's army in what they trained for. I mean, you know, it
Right.
kind of started as a typical teenage. Oh, there's a
Right.
teacher we don't like, so we're gonna
Extracurricular
have a secret club where we learn how to fight and make her mad because they're not teaching us this. But
Right.
he uses it to fruition of what it was meant for and the best version of it that it could be, and he makes those around him the best versions that they can be.
Exactly.
And you know, he even leads the getting first and second years out of the castle, getting Slytherins out of it. He's there in the middle of all of that, of still helping people and doing the right thing. All the things that need to be done that aren't the overarching, huge, giant Dumbledore detail things. They're all the things that make day to day happen.
Yeah, he's
Not
a
always
leader
doing it.
without being
He's
told.
a hero in the truest sense of an everyday
Right.
hero, is what he is.
And he doesn't have to draw attention to himself.
Exactly.
Doesn't need.
Doesn't need your approval
Doesn't
for
need
it.
Mhm.
Quietly studies herbology because it makes him happy and he's good at it.
Mhm.
Not because he needs it for something.
Mhm.
I think that goes a long way for Neville. He does things because he knows it's right and because he wants to. Snape is a lot of, I have to do this to survive, and I don't think he really
Because
does
the
anything
actions
because he
I've
wants
made
to.
prior to this have put me in
Exactly.
this predicament.
Right. He
Yeah,
doesn't
not
really
only-
have choices. He
Yeah.
doesn't make choices because he wants to. It's because he needs to and he has to. Otherwise, things
Both
are
sides are going to kill him.
Yeah.
He's going to have everybody against him. Yeah.
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 I mean, Snape had a rough upbringing and it was hard but with Neville he also had difficulty but again it's about the choices that you make of who you want to be, and Neville continues to make choices to be a positive influence in those around him.
So that's to grow above his upbringing and his crappy life, and Snape wallowed in it for a while and then
And
tried
Neville-
to change it.
Neville didn't seek out power. Power found him.
Mm-hmm.
And when he got power, he used it wisely. He didn't use it for selfish gain.
Yeah.
Not that
Yeah.
he won't later.
And he's happy with his life. If he had never had power, he would have been content. Even after the war, he could have done so many things. I mean, Harry becomes an Auror and
He was
do all these
offered to
things.
be an Auror.
Yeah, and I'd rather be a teacher and pass those things along to other people. Again, following that everyday hero kind of line.
And again, going back to Remus Lupin. Again,
Yeah.
Very much mirroring Remus
Yes,
of
yeah.
that kind of humble but powerful.
Right. So for the vote?
Is there any more arguments for or against? Because I have my vote.
It's not really. I think we just said pretty much everything we can about the
Yeah.
characters. That will
Up to this
sway
point, we've
somebody.
talked
one
about
way or the
literally
other.
every
I mean,
possible.
Neville and Snape both had terrible childhoods. They both
They're
had,
opposite sides of the
yeah,
coin.
They
The
both
same
came
coin,
into
of a bad
to
child.
power whether they wanted it or not. They both stood up and did what they had to do to protect and push Harry's cause along, whether you agreed or disagreed with it. But yeah, I don't know. You've got yours.
I've got mine.
I know where I'm going.
Where are you going first?
I'm going Neville.
Go Neville.
Wow. All right. Yeah, it's Neville easily.
You go Neville easily.
When I preferred
you
Albus
know where
over
you're going,
Snape,
'cause I'm-
What are you two doing?
Are
gonna be
you
Snape
both going to
again?
say Snape this time?
What are you gonna say? Snape this time?
Do you want to go on
No.
count of three?
Yeah, all three of us go on the count of
We
three.
all agreed to say Neville. So it really comes down to, are you going to stay with Snape or not? Namely, you two.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough. It is.
You think this is a hard one?
Well, I know why I like Neville, and I'm trying to decide, and I probably shouldn't because it's my vote. So the whole I know I picked Snape over Albus because of his character, and I said it was against what I believe in Snape, but against Neville.
Yeah. You have to compare it against the person he's against.
I know, but I'm
guess what happened
I'm
for his
disarmed by Neville. I'm like, Snape's just a bad guy. Like, Neville's a good guy. The good guy should win, you know. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you two say, and I hope I'm not having to break a tie here. So
Well, they did
Cop
too.
out.
They're
they,
both
We both did
Neville.
Neville.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you picking?
Do you want to go together or do you want to?
I don't care. I feel conflicted.
Because you want Snape to win.
I
don't
want him to win so bad.
Because you really like his character. But
Because he's my favorite and I want him to win.
why is he your favorite? Because you read the books and he just stood out to you and you liked him, but you never really looked at these other characters fairly because you liked Snape?
I mean,
Or what?
I like Snape because you like certain things more than you like other things. It's human nature to pick something to be your favorite, no matter what it is. Coffee cups, books, characters, movies. You're gonna naturally pick a favorite for whatever reason. And Snape's always been my favorite. I think he has a good character. I think he has a good story. I think he's fleshed out enough to validate being a favorite. You know, some characters you could be like, Cormac McLagan's my favorite, but what sustenance do you have besides being like, I'm gonna pick a character nobody knows to be my favorite? You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, so I feel like he's a valid favorite character in a series, but I also feel like he's a character that you have to think about to
Yeah.
appreciate, which I also like, which is why I like him in
and
Sirius
that's why I
so
didn't
much.
like him when I read the books because I don't
And
read,
it's super
I don't read
controversial.
deep into the books like that.
Right,
I took it as face value as I read it, and he's a bad guy. I don't like
right.
him.
But also,
He's mean to Harry, the name the book's named after.
Right.
Like, come on. You know, I mean, you can't be the good guy. You can't like him.
but when you put them up against each other in this sort of setting of you're objectively stepping back from your opinion and you're
Right.
just looking at canon with no emotion involved, you're putting yourself into the story.
Right.
Neville, for a story, you could argue he makes a better character, which is what this bracket is. So he's
Right.
the best character. So it's conflicting because I can see all the things you're saying about Neville and why he should be the winner. But then I'm also like, but all those things he said about Snape plus my emotional response.
Exactly.
You know what I
Right?
mean?
That's why I feel like I'm the opposite way on that one because of my emotion.
Yeah.
I
So
don't
it's
want Snape
hard.
to win, but then I picked him the last round to beat Albus Dumbledore.
Right. So like, part of me was just like, well, Neville would win, but I like Snape so much that I'm like, who do you pick to win? You know what I mean? I don't know. So that's where I'm at right now. Where are you at?
Do you have a solid answer?
I have a solid answer.
Okay, well then
Oh.
maybe you should save Rachel and I the trouble.
So they don't have to decide. They can keep their favorite character without
Right?
changing anything.
Yes! I can keep my least favorite character, my least favorite character.
Alright, Mom. What are you voting since obviously
I think
these
she's
two
gonna
don't
pick
say
Neville is what I
anything?
think she's gonna pick,
Yeah,
and then that's gonna put us in the spot where we're just gonna be like, we didn't pick.
Or you
And we're
can pick.
No, I'm not gonna be, I think
No, I'm not mad.
the
but-
whole, the bracket I think was a good overall total with the different characters.
Yeah.
Okay, Moaning Myrtle, should she have made the list? I don't know, whatever. Winky.
I'm glad you
Maybe
picked Moaning
not.
Myrtle, not, Aragorn or something like that.
Aragorn,
Aragorn is
well,
up there,
I think
Bob.
they were
I know,
all made in the
but
books
they
are all
should have been
valid
on the
characters. But yeah, coming down to the end of it,
It is hard.
and I think Neville is the only one on the board that we all did vote at one time to make him through a bracket.
Mhm.
And
I mean, he won every single one he was in.
I mean, so
well,
did
so did
Snape.
Snape.
That's why he's at the end, bro. That's how bracket works.
I don't
It's
know
not
if
a
you
round
saw
robin with a losers tournament thrown in. Like,
this. Gotta beat everybody twice to make it to the end.
sorry.
I think what you're getting at there is that Neville was more
Easily beat.
decisive
Neville
than
easily beat.
Snape.
But he
Snape
also
more-
was
it
against
could have been
Creature
more-
and Hagrid and Winky.
It was an easier side of the bracket. I agree.
Yeah, he got the easy side.
But
of
I
the
think
bracket.
even if he was on the other side, I think he would have beat everybody. If Snape and Neville swapped, I think the two of them probably would have went through just as easily. But I think Neville just had an easier time overall, and there's so much more we can expound upon. Whereas Snape, going into most of this, you
But I
didn't really
do feel like-
understand why he could have been the best character.
Yeah, but I do feel like we talked
So I
him
think
out
that's what
both
we're
pretty
getting
well.
Yeah.
Which is also why it's like, oh, which one do I pick?
Yeah.
Well, for me, the deciding factors come down to with Snape. It is that he is. I wholly believe that his character had selfish motives
Mhm.
all the way through,
Mhm.
and that I think in the end he did the right thing. I think that in the end he did what was best for his mankind and humanity in the wizarding world. But I still think that it always goes back to the selfishness of that he loved Lily in a selfish kind of love, not in what was best for her or whatever, but that he loved her, and then he spurred hate his whole life. That's what drove him, was hate. And I think that with just a few tweaks, he could have been Voldemort at any moment. The thing that kept
That's
him
true.
from being Voldemort is because of Lily. So that's what does set him apart, and so that makes him a great character. Because he still, as we talked about, it's about your choices.
Okay, girls are like, he's so good, but they're so good, and you're not choosing anything. You're just like,
You're
dude, that was so good.
True though, man.
Yes, they are!
But my choice is Neville, and I choose Neville because he chooses goodness, and he chooses light, and he chooses love,
Yeah.
and that in the end, I feel like
It doesn't even matter.
he characterizes the best of the Harry Potter series. So what were you two gonna?
Honestly, I don't know. I was leaning towards Longbottom, but
You couldn't pull the
I don't know. I still am really conflicted. I'm still really conflicted.
I don't know. I couldn't have pulled the trigger on Neville. I think I was going to pick Snape. Just because I felt when I read the books, I hated Snape, but I remembered his character. You know what I mean, Neville was
Yeah.
just he was a the Silver Trio and was a side character, and I'm not mad that he won. I mean,
Right.
but
He has valid reason to be up there.
He's a secondary character, and so is Snape, but Snape's a bigger secondary character.
Yeah.
And the whole scene where Severus kills Albus was as you're reading it, if you've ever read the book, it's like you read it like you had to go back and read it like 7 times. You're like, what just really? Like he really did just. Is he really? Yeah, he's really dead. He really did just kill him. So you remember that character, even though I didn't like him in the books, and I didn't care for his character and thought that he was just out to get Harry all the time. I never felt like Neville really reading the books came along and really stepped up to be to his full potential.
Neville required a lot of
Yeah.
out of book thinking and talking
But
out, kind of like
When
this
you,
to
but when
flush
you
him
look
out.
at it as, like I said, Albus was so much older than Severus, and we are experiencing Snape going through what Albus did earlier. I think in that same step, we don't get to see Neville because at the end of the book they tell Harry went on to do this and Neville went on. The things they went on to do, Neville came through some of that, and in the future, if there are more, his character development could be that much greater. But yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. I
Again,
don't know. You started talking about Snape first, and I was kind of like, okay, she's gonna say Snape, and then I'm gonna say Snape, and then I'm gonna make him like I was more like, okay, like confident, ready to pull a trigger. But I don't know. When they were saying Longbottom, I was like, well, that's kind of what I was thinking too. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It was.
I knew when we picked people that somebody was going to pick Snape. It's probably going to be you. And I was like, Snape cannot win this bracket for the best Harry Potter character. Almost to a sense of I'm not going to
vote for him.
Yeah, I mean,
for that.
but
Oh, really? I was perfectly
there's
comfortable
valid.
with.
I mean, I would have been
Snape or
okay if
Neville.
Snape would have won. I would have
Right.
been okay with it.
I think for the most part, anybody up there, with a few exceptions, could have went to the end and I would have been fine with it.
Oh, really? No, there's just a couple. Snape, Albus, and Neville.
So the people who made it to the Final Four,
Yeah.
you thought
Snape,
Yeah.
obviously
Neville.
thought would be the best bets.
Snape,
I mean,
Snape,
that's how
Albus,
brackets
and
work,
Neville.
guys.
Yeah.
Neville. Yeah. But yeah, I would have been disappointed had Luna won. I would have
Really?
been disappointed had Tom Riddle won.
I don't read
Or even
books,
Remus.
and I
And
don't,
Remus was probably one of my other favorites up
yeah,
there.
I don't think about it as in depth. Honestly, I was going into it of Creature's just a funny character. I liked him, and so hey, he was great in the book, and the house elves, man, they did a lot, and saying I never really thought about Carmack as a character in the book. Like, come on, seriously.
Or Aragog as deep
I mean,
as we
I
went.
think-
That guy, dude, he almost made it through his bracket, but
and so it's.
He almost
it's-
beat Remus.
I think we could
Yeah,
take.
I was like, who's
Remus.
even up against?
I think we could take
But
these
it's 'cause he's
16
against
characters
Remus.
off
Yeah.
and do another 16 different characters and
get just as much out of
get
it.
just as much out of it. Yeah, it was
Just as many episodes.
You could,
Yeah, right.
you could do just as
Another
many
two-parter.
16 brackets
Yeah.
until you got 16 winners, and then do an all winners bracket. and then be like,
the winners bracket from. That'd
Yeah.
be a long time, but
2 years from now, look out for the Harry Potter Super Bracket Night.
Top 16.
no, I'm happy with Neville. I think it
Just
that was,
everybody will do
it
at
was
least one
definitely a
Harry
learning
Potter bracket.
from the
Yeah.
way you guys read the books and all
The
these
way we
years
understood the
I've
characters.
understood the characters, and I'm kind of thinking maybe I need to read them again.
I was gonna say that's the thing too about
See
all of
what
us
I
talking about
missed.
this is like how much all of us like. We've all read them more than once.
I think I've read
correct?
the books only twice.
I've read
That's
them
fair.
at least 3 times, and then
Yeah.
partial, and then audiobooks and movies.
And it's been a long
how
time since
much
I've read them.
we all
too, so.
retain and extracurricular studying we do of these is it always kind of gets me.
Is that a
I've
we
read
or is
the
that
full
you
series
two?
like 6 times. I read them about once every other year.
I've read. I think I've.
I
read
mean,
them
after
all
this,
3
like
times.
that, I feel like I should go back and reread them.
There's a
because
lot
I
to get out
haven't
of them.
in a long time.
Right.
And
I've watched the movies more, and I drew a lot of my characters. And I know that's a terrible way to say it, but
what a
I did.
half-blood.
But to be fair, the movies drew me more to Snape than the books did,
Mhm.
because of, and a lot
Alan
because of
Rickman.
Alan Rickman, the way he played the character. But yeah, I don't know. It was.
I'm just telling y'all, the books are so much
The
richer.
books are
And you
way
have-
Even I
better.
listened to the audiobook. I listened to the audiobook back to back.
Yeah.
Like over the summer. I
Uh-huh.
listened to them back to back. That's how good they were.
Yeah.
And even though I
I mean,
literally
really,
just listened to the
obviously-
first one less than a month prior, I re-listened to all of them again.
We obviously endorse the books because we have a set, you have a set, you have a set. Do you
You
have?
have a set.
Yeah,
And you have a
I had the
set.
original set.
I also have
And-
all of the movies and Cursed Child and
We
any
have it set
additive
up.
books
But what I'm
from the
saying is-
series or extras and
We all have our own set of books,
Yeah.
but we only have 2 sets of the movies. So
Right.
we've got 5 sets of books.
Plus games.
So
right.
the books are way better, but yeah.
Plus you can get some cool covers.
So
Yeah, they're almost lost.
Harry Potter bracket.
It's 9 o'clock.
No more snacks!
No more snacks.
Is Neville who you picked to be the winner?
Yes.
Is it? Was
Vote
it?
down below who you thought you should have won.
Do you think we're just
Did
voters?
Aragog make it all the way through?
Yeah.
Why did you even know who he was? On the other hand.
Thank you, Quentin, for bringing
Right,
the
right.
little known characters.
Yeah, the
there.
Cormac, the Phineas and
Well, I
Jones.
brought Aragog.
You brought the Aragog.
Bonnie
Also,
Myrtle got
did
an
you all
honorable
love,
mention.
I think it was Slughorn, where you're all like, alright, arguments for Slughorn. I want to know what you all think, because I forgot a lot about Slughorn, I'll be honest.
Yeah. So
Aragog I was a lot more well-versed on, I guess, because I know so much more about Aragog.
Spiders.
Yeah, but does
easily
Slughorn
missed.
have a wife? For being honest. Do we know that?
That was easily missed.
What's
It was
the
like a
plot?
throwaway line.
Neville Longbottom won the Harry Potter. Yay, Neville. Good job, President Mike.
Clap, you voted for him.
Yeah.
Good job.
Well done.
If you don't think Neville should have won, tell us who you think should have won, I guess. Oh, doesn't matter.
Or
Pick
don't.
Neville.
We won't read the comments.
Have your
We
opinion.
won't read it.
Be prepared to defend it.
Right.
Yeah, tell
I'm
us,
a hill for
why
this.
and who you think should have won. And what was the next bracket?
Headwear.
Headgear.
Headgear.
To clarify, to clarify,
If
head
it's in the
is-
head part of the Sims menu, it counts.
I don't play that game, so whatever.
That
Here,
was the
it's
rule that we came up with.
Shoulders up, like it could be glasses, head, hat,
Scarves?
ponytail.
Earrings.
Rachel's wearing
Does
headwear.
that count?
It's your
Grills.
shoulders up.
Anything up.
Diamond grills.
A grill, yeah. Who knows what not makes the list?
Pick a gold tooth. I'm picking. Nobody better pick gold tooth.
If this video comes out online, which I don't think it will, before we do bracket, I'm just saying before next week, because we got 3 videos to put out,
I guess.
right?
It's
We've got
true.
the bracket choices, then we've got
Session
part
0.
1
Episode 1.
and part 2 of the Harry Potter bracket,
Okay.
and
We're gonna
then
quit watching if we don't make these brackets
Headgear.
faster. I'm gonna be honest.
right.
We'll be like, I can't spend 2 hours. See what hat's the best.
What's your choices
See,
then?
I think this one.
Or maybe. I'm gonna watch this for 2 hours because I need to know
See,
which hat is the
I
best hat
think,
to wear.
I think Harry Potter took the longest. I think it'll take the longest because we had
'Cause we
such
cared so
strong
much about it.
opinions.
I think so.
I think hatwear
I will be
and
honest,
cutlery are
though, I
gonna
was-
take way less time.
I was telling my
Candles.
coworker about this, Shep, and he was like, "What's bracket night?" I was like, "It's just this dumb thing we do where we bracket things and then we argue about which one's the best." I was like, we just hang out, we eat a meal, and we hang out. And he's like, "Oh, what are you doing next week?" Because he kind of knows about Harry Potter because his daughter likes it. I was like, "We're doing headwear." And he's like, "What?" And I was like, "Headwear." And he's like, "How can you argue about that?" And I was like, "Well, Shep, what are your thoughts on cowboy hats?" Because he has a very expensive. It's a Stinson. It's a very
Ooh,
nice hat.
dang.
It's a Stetson.
Whatever, I don't care. It's a very nice hat. So he had a lot of opinions, and I said, "Well, that hat's stupid. Have you ever thought about a visor with a plastic rim?" And then we got into it, and I was like, "This is how you argue about hats, Shep." And so then he was kind of interested. But yeah, he was like, "That doesn't make sense." But I
Let's
was
put Stetson on there and then be like, Shep, we have a video. You should watch see if Stetson wins.
why don't we just have Shep be our guest?
There you go.
Yeah.
He could be our call-in.
Just for whenever that shows up in the bracket.
Pick Stetson's
Educate
pussy.
us.
Yes. Because he
You get
did
a
have
picture of him
opinions,
wearing
but it was funny because like he was just like, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of." But then like as he was talking about it, you could tell he was like, "Visors are stupid. Why don't you understand?" And then like it clicked in his brain. He was like, "This makes so much sense now." Like okay, like he's kind of mad because he didn't want to get behind it and support it, but he understood. So which is what I was going for.
Right.
Yeah.
Broaden your horizons.
Exactly.
Psychology of it.
Team might think that you hate snakes.
Learning more.
Really,
You learn.
You learn.
I learned
I learned a lot
More
about
about
Rebel.
Snake.
I learned a lot about Aragon.
a lot about Aragon. I even learned about Carmack McClagan.
Carmack.
Show me the Carmack!
Yeah.
This is such an American way to say his name.
Carmack McLagan!
Carmack McClagan.
Mayonnaise.
Yee!
If he was American, he probably would wear a Stinson.
I learned how to make that.
Why?
Carmack would wear a Stinson, wouldn't he?
So we talked about it and we learned.
Did we though?
Not us, at work.
Okay, I was like, we didn't talk about it, no.
No, this was after the conversation
Okay.
about the hats were shed. We talked about mayonnaise.
Okay.
Because we were debating whether or not mayonnaise was a liquid. Or like, here's the line of liquid and solid, here's mayonnaise, it's real close.
It's Chucky, or what was it?
And then a cream and peanut butter, yeah.
Okay.
It was a
Yeah.
time.
Alright.
Alright,
There you go.
There we go,
See you
we
next
did it.
time.
This is
Goodbye.
the outro.
Oh yeah, I forgot we
Do
said
your
it.
head thing.
Oh yeah.
See you next time.
What is that?
Voguing.